Matthew Kenny with American Patriots Press. We have a beautiful day here today for the 9/12 second anniversary family picnic in sunny South Florida to celebrate the second anniversary of a truly grassroots movement, the 9/12 movement, which is local, which was started by Glenn Beck, and the Tea Party movement, which Rick Santelli got started nationwide. I'm here today with Congressman Allen West. Welcome, Congressman Allen West.
Pleasure to be with you, Matthew. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Good.
Thank you for coming into the Eagle's Nest.
Hey, this is where we should be.
Allen spoke a few minutes ago, and I just had a few extra questions for him. What do you think with the 9/12 movement? Do you think a third party could come out of something like this in a few years?
Well, I think that there's a very serious threat to a third party that is principle-based evolving in the United States of America. Because right now, if it ends up that the Republican Party, who is in charge of the House of Representatives, aren't moving in the right direction, people can get frustrated. You know, there are two emotions out there right now. One is fear and one is anger. And you're starting to see a lot of that anger overtake the fear. So I think that it's so important that we get our party, the Republican Party, back to principles, back to connecting with the grassroots.
And I've never heard this said, but this is my own personal views. Could people get elected as Republicans and then form a third party when they're already in to maybe conquer that?
Well, I mean, what you have, you know, people that get elected and then they say, you know, I'm going to, make myself an independent, but then I caucus with whomever. So the thing is, you don't want to have something that is created, but it doesn't really have any power base. That's true. So I think that's so important that you don't just act out of frustration and create something that really can be squashed by either of the parties. If there's going to be a new movement that arises, then it has to make sure that you have a base, which means financial resource base, and can be an impact player.
Well, thank you for that. I touched base on Libya at a question inside there, but I also had a few questions from some of our readers at American Patriots Press. Virgil in Tempe, Arizona says there are two edges to the future Islamic conquest of the West: outright warfare and forced conversion to Islam, and number two, conquest by immigration and procreation. It's easy to understand how to defeat the first, but what can America do to stop the second?
Well, I think one of the things is at a strategic level you must understand, and that comes back to the Hijra concept, where in, I believe, about 622 AD, Muhammad departed Mecca and went out into Medina. And as a matter of fact, Muammar Gaddafi said about 2 or 3 years ago to the European nations that Islam would overtake them, not by firing a single bullet, but by through migration. And you see that happening. And look at what's going on in London, where all of a sudden you have a parallel legal system between English common law and Sharia law. And you already have had a decision that a Florida judge made here just about, 2 or 3 days ago, about allowing ecumenical Islamic law to be the ruling part of the case. So slowly but surely, it's that Sharia creep. It's that it's kind of like when you put the frog in the water. You don't make it hot when it's first there. You slowly turn it up. So we have to be very careful, very careful.
Yeah, and we have heard alleged reports too of covering up Sharia honor killings in Michigan, in the state of Michigan, in the Dearborn area, also. Look at these pictures. These are disturbing pictures, and we talked about animal behavior. This is northeast of your old stomping grounds in Lilburn, Georgia. Eric Holder is going after the city council for not allowing rezoning for a mega mosque to be built.
Yeah.
So he's personally going after them, the city council of Lilburn, for discrimination. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? This is in the in the mountains.
Well, that's the practice that goes back. I think that's the Shiite practice, which has to deal with the result of the Battle of Karbala back in the 8th century when the Shiites were defeated and many of them were executed. So that's the ritual that they have. And I think that occurs in January for us. Look, the thing is, we cannot have a federal government that continues to prosecute sovereign states or local city governments for them doing what their constituents are asking them to do, which is protect them.
Since you're on the inside, what is Washington doing except telling us to be tolerant towards this peaceful religion?
Well, one of the things that I said was that when tolerance becomes a one-way street, it leads to cultural suicide. So we must, first of all, you saw the hearings by Peter King, we must come to an admittance that there is a difference in, our ideology, our principles, things that make Western civilization what it is, and then this ideology that's rooted in political Islam or Sharia law. It is a totalitarian, theocratic political construct, and we must see it as that. And until we come to the day when we can accept that for what it is, then we're going to continue to walk about blind, and we will create gaps which we can be exploited.
And one last issue before my closing comments. I had an interview with Eric Smith. He's the Associate Director of Energy at Tulane University. Just because a lot of the Gulf State energy business and the livelihoods of the folks there isn't really in the news. And I specifically had questions on the combining energy crisis that's going on around the world, and now with this Japan earthquake and tsunami. And he feels that by December, we're going to start feeling something even more on top of what we're already having from the supplies being sucked out from all the other resources.
Yeah, absolutely. There will be a constraint of resources. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we already see with this, with oil. And that's one of the big things that I'm concerned about with the Suez Canal and the sea lanes of commerce, not just the energy resources, but other aspects of commerce. The United States of America has to realize that energy independence is a national security issue, it's an economic issue, it's a jobs issue, and it's an issue that we have to go forward. We've heard it in the 70s, and the 80s, and the 90s. Everyone said it's too hard, it's going to take 10 years. But guess what? If people hadn't done it back in the 70s, it started back in the 80s and the 90s, we'd be there right now. So it's time to stop kicking this can down.
Okay. And in closing, you might be aware, but there's a movement across America that's going viral to get you to the White House. Now, I'm not going to waste a throwaway question that every amateur in the industry like Hannity asks. My question to you is, when you're in the White House, will you consider American Patriots Press to be part of the White House press pool?
Well, the most important thing for me right now is to be a good U.S. representative and a congressman. And whatever God has in store for me, that will happen. But I have to prove myself as a legislator, and we'll see what happens with Patriot Press, how it grows.
And are you aware of the movement across America, how you've become more familiar than just the local area?
Let me tell you something. My dad raised me with a very good premise. He said, never read your own press and never drink your own tub of water.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.